I mean, people have plenty of time to back it.
Just
Where do we?
know some conversations will be picked up by the mic.
All right, it's now 6 o'clock and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Those who can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Dwayne, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Comments from the public.
You do have some.
I don't, Jeff Howell,
Yep.
cross country. I know it's on the agenda tonight. I wasn't at the committee meeting, so I'm not sure exactly what went on there. What the discussion is in, for being an active item tonight, what the.
It was moved to take it to the full board for discussion.
Okay, it will,
Yeah.
okay,
So that committee moved to bring it forward.
okay. All right, well, then, I guess.
That's where we're at, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, we will move on to special. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes, I do. I have a comment. That's good. I just wanted to publicly recognize the Crescent Lake Community Organization. They are a group of people out on A&H area. Last year, they donated $1,000 worth of supplies to us. This year, we divided it between the high school, middle school, and the elementary. They were donating another $1,000 to us in supplies. So what I do is I give her a list of items and supplies that we need, snacks. This year we went with shower gels, deodorants, personal care items for the high school so that they are starting a store of sorts. I'm not closet, like a closet where
Personal needs.
kids can come in. So I just wanted to publicly recognize them. They don't want me to do thank you cards. They don't want me to do anything. They just,
Okay, we do
So-
need to officially accept that, so it will need to be on the next month's agenda.
oh, okay,
Because of the dollar amount, it has to be officially accepted by the school.
gotcha. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We can do it next month. It's not.
Okay. Yeah, fabulous stuff.
Okay.
Very generous.
And now I will go to special appearances.
Yeah, so on October 27th, Bryn and I traveled to Madison, Wisconsin, where we were able to present at the Music Educators Association Conference. Last year, we submitted our proposal along with Sean Goodmanson and his band director, John Broschke, and Adam Beaver in Rice Lake. We submitted a proposal about a presentation on teacher turnover. In our area, we have a lot of music teachers who are retiring and new folks like myself coming in and taking on a new role. And so we wanted to do a presentation to talk about how can we create a successful turnover between music teachers with someone who's been in the role for a long time and someone who's starting fresh. So we were able to give background on where we came from and how that overall is making us the teachers that we are, and give insight to teachers, new and oldies, that
Experience. Like experience.
give insight on how we can create that bridge to fill that gap between the new and old teachers. So if you want to fix that.
Yeah, well, and our official title was a two-way street, working together for on teacher turnover. And I mean, I thought that it was very well attended. Or, we were up against a lot of different things at that time slot. But we had a lot of questions and things were received very well. I mean, this is happening all over the state. And when you're in a situation of, how do you nurture a new person coming into the profession, and how do you change, willing to, change your point of view and do what's best for kids coming from an experienced standpoint. So it was good, and it was good not only to present the information because it was valuable to everybody, but it was really a good opportunity for us as presenters to look at the situation that we're in and be able to have honest, open communication. So that was very good. The convention itself is excellent. That conference is always good. I've gone for years and years, so I thank you for allowing us to go again. That's what keeps me recharged each year. And the networking that happens and just the good ideas, the sessions were fantastic, performances. So it was very good. And I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah, before that, I just want to add that the people who were in attendance of our session had really good stories for us and were coming up to us and complimenting our relationship that we have in the music department here, saying, oh, you guys are so lucky that you have that connection and that you're able to create a really good relationship within your department. And so I think we could say that we're really proud of that.
Yes, because you think that it's normal, you know, that you go into you're making a working relationship and you think that that's how it is in every school. And it is not. I mean, questions that we were getting, I was like, are you kidding me? It's really happening in your district. So we're lucky. Yeah, we're lucky.
Yes. And another reason that we were so lucky enough to be able to go down to the conference was because Lola Porter here auditioned last February for State Honor Choir and was selected to be a member of that. And she was able to go to a camp in June for a 3 or 4 day camp and work with the singers of the choir and work with the director. And then she had her final performance at the conference. But I would love for her to talk about her experience and what she got from that.
So in June, I went down to UW Green Bay and I got to spend a wonderful 4 days with a big group of an all-girls choir, which was a fantastic experience. I loved it. Like, it was like the highlight of my summer. Like, I had so much fun. And it was really sad when it was all over, but also kind of a relief because we were all tired, but it was still a lot of fun. And then in October, we were all excited to go back. We went to Madison this time though, we got to experience the conference and we got to work more on our songs and we got to walk around Madison a little bit, walking from where we had rehearsal to where we saw the conference at, and then where we had more rehearsal. And it was a great experience. I loved it. I want more people to be able to experience it too, instead of just having one person go, because I would say it'd be more of a better experience if like more than one person was interested in it. Because I would say I was kind of lonely at the beginning, but I did make friends, which was really nice because I got to meet a lot of new people, which I'm never good at. But yeah, thanks for sending me.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, and it's been fun watching Lola just grow as a person through the experience, and that, you know, now you're interested in a music career, and just to see her kind of come out of her shell when she's with her people.
And one more thing, it also did open up a lot of colleges and scholarships. Like, I got asked by the operatic professor at UW-Madison to come and tour and have a free lesson with him, which I hopefully can take up the offer soon. And I also was asked to come and visit by University of Minnesota Duluth, to come and visit and also get another free lesson with their director, which is really good.
Yeah.
I also got offered a lot of scholarships too, which I am going to try and take up. It all depends on which school I go to.
Very good.
Very
Good job, Lola.
Thank you again for letting us have these opportunities. It helps me grow as a teacher, especially as a second year teacher. And it's really fun to watch my students grow with these experiences.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you did this talk on an experienced teacher with a newer teacher. Does it pertain to more than just music in the way in which you presented it? Could it pertain to other areas in education as well?
Well, an interesting thing that I kind of leaned out of this was that we kind of did the millennial mindset versus my mindset, and Sean Goodmanson, who's a
Mhm.
little bit younger than I am. Coming from the experienced standpoint, we look at things in a broader sense, and the younger people were more focused on things within our discipline. So I would say that, yes, it could pertain, especially the parts, mine was welcoming people, making them feel part of the community, knowing what to do to make the correct PR within your district and your community. And I think that those, seeking out sources of information, I think that could be for any discipline.
And I'm asking specifically, I spoke with Dr. Shetler briefly about this when I heard that you guys were selected to do this. And I'm thinking that this might be something that as a district, we may want to present as far as how the board can help in these situations, and how the administration can help, and how to make it smoother. Because as you know, for our district especially, we have quite a lot of experienced teachers that are going to be leaving, and we're going to having new people coming in. And somehow we have to share that experience. But what I hear when I go out to other meetings is that other school districts feel this even worse than we do, because they have a lot more people. And if half their staff is leaving and half their staff is brand new. And so I'm wondering if this isn't something we could work up into a presentation, maybe the school board committee or an administrative conference, as to how everybody can work together to make, because their department is working very well. And how we can make sure that's happening with our elementary teachers have to be really close. Math and science in the high school have to work closely together. We might not have 3 science teachers, but we have a math and a science that still have to.
Right, and we have a mentoring program, but.
I think that what you guys have done goes beyond that, in my
Yes,
opinion.
and that you have to, that needs to be pumped up.
Yes,
It can't be just a cut and dry, yep, you're new and I'm gonna sit in your
Right.
class every once in a while. It needs to.
and I'm going to tell you how to do it. You know, you have
And
to
we are
open,
unique that, we have a program where we're, we need to
Yes.
put on a concert and present to the public and to the community. And, our kids' work is showcased all of the time. So it's a little bit different. And I would say maybe a little easier to mentor and be, in our situation, but I think it can be transferred over.
I think it definitely could as well, especially since our bigger picture, like our conclusion of the whole thing was about balance and communication and trusting each other and supporting each other and being open for that change.
thank you. Great. Treasurer's report is in your packets. Laura is not with us this evening, but there was really nothing of a surprise in that report. We are doing some short-term borrowing, as we always do this time of year. There will be some tax revenues, some payments due the district, and some grant claims coming in that will offset that in the near future. So I am looking for a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Katie to accept the treasurer's report. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. President's report. I'm just going to make a small statement here. I have heard some conflicting things. I just want to encourage the board members, if someone asks you a question and you're not sure, to say you're not sure and go get the right information versus saying what you think it is and they take that as fact and spread it around. So people ask me all the time, Kevin can tell you, Carrie can tell you, I'm calling them all the time. Hey, what's going on with this? I heard this. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it? But rather than give out bad information, if you have any questions, please go to the person on the admin staff that can best answer your question. And that's all I have. So Dr. Shetler.
Okay, so with the next, after the elections, and then the next biennial budget coming after the 23 year, budget talks are starting. I don't know if you guys are getting emails yet on, there's a little bit of talk about some bargaining between DPI and some of the Republican legislators about, you know, kind of some trade-offs and things. So that's starting to jockey right now. So the best thing we can do, you know, we had labeled our priorities, we set them out in March. Okay, just wanted to send that again because after the election, I did put a final statement in there indicating we would be inviting them to our district. So I want to invite them not only to a regular board meeting, but even a committee meeting and just have question and answer and just talk. Now, I don't know if they'll come. But I want to put out the invitations and I want to include you guys in on that. So I know that's something the board had talked about wanting to do. So I think our priorities are clear and, you know, we'll see a lot as it starts to come with the budget and you can see, you know, there's surpluses and, you know, some tax revenue in that, the overall state budget. So there's going to be a lot of jockeying and fighting in that. We just want to make sure, I guess, our voice is heard. The other thing I would say is in the past, I don't know if some of you had ever attended, but whenever there was a caucus, Jim, I think you had attended one. Sometimes they'll invite you. And if you want to testify and give your testimony and that, if that were to occur, I think we rally and maybe, I know I went to, one was in Spooner and we went and, you know, we shared a letter and talked like that. So, you know, as those opportunities come up, we can talk about them as a board and move forward with just letting them know kind of where we are. And I just want to make sure we have a common voice that I speak for the board. And that was the purpose in generating this letter. So it's been sent twice already. Our legislators haven't changed after the election. So we'll send this out again and with an invitation.
Great.
Actually, Kevin.
Yeah.
The legislative district change. Family first. You're no longer either. of
Yes.
those two's representatives.
Yeah, so right now, these people have our information and our priorities and we'll continue to follow that and send it accordingly. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Questions for Kevin? Mary?
Family events on November 17th, DLC did a book giveaway after DLC. So any parents who were coming to pick up were able to come in with their students and go through, we had a bunch of books that we were able to give to families. That continued the next morning when on November 18th, we did a family morning math. And honestly, it blew my mind the amount of people we had that showed up. I think we finally found a time that works for our families and hopefully we had I think Becky Wickland said we had 80 in attendance, which was fantastic. It blew my mind. I didn't think we were going to get that many people in the door. So very excited for that. We're talking about what else can we do in the mornings to work with our parents and get our parents in the door and partner with them. Christmas concerts on December 15th, the elementary concert is kindergarten through second grade. That's a change this year. So it's K2, 1:30 to 2:15. And grades 3 through 5 is 2:15 to 3:25.
2:30.
2:30.
2:30.
What did I say? 2:15.
One gets out and the other one starts at 2:30.
Yeah, 2:30. Sorry. Yep.
15-minute turnaround.
Yep. So we've had a lot of discussion. We're getting it out as much as we can all over so that everyone's ready for that change and because we're now putting 3 through 5 together and K2 together. And then the 4K is doing their sing along as they usually do. And that is on December 20th, I think I have. And that starts at 5 o'clock. So.
All right. Any questions for Carrie? No? Jamie?
So as most of you know, we have a bullying report and a threat assessment report through our website. I was contacted by an agency out of Eau Claire that was wanting to know how we had it set up, what it looked like, how we worked it. She was working with schools in the Eau Claire area, and she's a mental health professional. She said that she had learned about our system here in Siren from a family that had moved there and felt that it would be something that all of the schools in the Eau Claire area could use as an exemplar, and that could benefit from having that available to parents and students 24 hours a day. So I know that we always have a lot going on with bullying, and it's kind of a buzzword. So I just thought that I would share that. That was good for us. And in terms of our bullying report from the beginning of the year till now, we've only had 7 reports made on that. The vast majority of them are deemed to be conflict, and most of which are among middle school students. So we've started working to address these concerns. We have began both boys and girls groups in collaboration with outside agencies. So we're utilizing the mental health grant funds in order to have group where they're going to be focusing on making positive choices, anger management, that type of stuff. And then if kids are seeming to have a lot of conflict, we can refer them in-house to be able to be a part of those programs. So that seems to be helping. Additionally, a group of us, so myself, Liz McDowell, the high school secretary, Lisa, our district secretary, and then Bobby Nerby, the elementary secretary, all got to attend the Power School training in the Wisconsin Dells at the end of October. And we all got to go to various sessions, as we all have different needs for understanding how Power School works in our new roles here. It was really great. Liz, my secretary, said it was the first time that she had attended a conference like that. She got to learn a whole lot. It was a little overwhelming. One of the great things about the conference is that they put all of their presentations on their website. So like if you need to go back to it because you don't remember, it's so much information to take in 2 days that you can go back to it. And then some of us were also able to do some one-on-one sessions to get some specific questions answered in trying to navigate Power School as our process here. And then we just had a really great Veterans Day program. I'm not sure if anyone was able to attend on the board, but that was on November 11th. It was very well attended. We have a lot of gratitude for our band and choir. They had wonderful performances during the program. Mr. Tinman had requested that we have this really great speaker who was retired Colonel Linda Shimo. She was a very decorated officer in the Army, and she'd been stationed around the world and the Pentagon. And she was like a pioneer for women in the armed services and continues to be an advocate for women and does a lot of volunteer work. And then we had 2 county winners for the VFW Voice of Democracy essay contest that were presented there. The first place was Sam Andreas, a sophomore, and then second place was Derek Tex, a senior.
Any questions? Yes.
Jamie did an excellent job as MC. I heard lots of positive comments, and the word professional came up a lot.
Thank you.
So I wanted to, well, thank you, that too.
Okay, no questions for Jamie?
I have a question more to Brand, but since it's high school, when is the high school concert? Choir band?
On December 18th.
Okay, and there's no other.
That will be the Christmas program. It is incorporated into it.
So what about the 19th? You don't have those?
The 19th is middle school. The high school is incorporated. with-
Oh, okay, because the calendar I'm looking at has it different than that. So what time is the middle school?
Middle school.
Okay, okay,
We're okay.
yeah. Okay, that takes care of a different question we had, so. It probably is. We just got something that's not quite right. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, no.
So the 6 o'clock camp, yeah, this is the big gig. That's right. This right here is not, and they should just say middle school.
There,
Okay,
okay,
okay.
Not just pass that out.
okay.
Okay.
Okay,
And Jamie, out of those 7 reports, were any of them considered to be a real bullying, or were they all kind of?
They're pretty much all conflict. The
Okay.
ones that were just like, well, maybe this one is being a little bit worse than the other one. We have had some disciplinary action for students when a lot of it, especially if it's the first time we've heard of an issue with a particular student, is kind of counseling them
Okay.
warning them, letting them know that that behavior is unacceptable and that if we continue to see it, then it becomes a pattern type of a thing.
Okay,
So at this point, we haven't had any major concerns with
Okay.
specific bullying that we have to continue or advance.
great, thank you.
It's been reported.
Right,
Okay. So Denise.
Mine is all in your, I've given a report since August. So our current number of special ed students right now is 96. We have one referral in process and one birth to 3 referral that we're working on. Of our 96 current students, we have 12 special ed students that will be requesting accommodations for the ACT this year. Hopefully they will all get those accommodations will all be in before Christmas. That's my goal. I have till mid-January. Our post-school outcomes for indicator 14. We've been participating in this for a couple of years. We have a contract with St. Norbert. It's a state thing. Representatives call a student a year out of high school and find out if they're working, if they're in school, kind of where they're at. If they meet certain criteria, we get $1,000 per student or so. Out of the 8 that would have been up this year, 4 of the 8 that were contacted met the eligibility criteria. And in June, we will be getting $3,821.64. So homeless update, we currently have 12 students, 9 in the elementary and 4 in the middle and high school.
Can you remind me again what the criteria is?
9 and 4 is in 12. Okay.
Doubled up, living in hotels, motels, living in shelters,
Foster care.
foster care.
Displacement.
Yeah, that would be doubling up.
Oh. What is an unaccompanied?
That would be a student that is not living with the parent and guardian. Therefore, they are considered homeless if they're living with somebody else.
Okay, it doesn't mean they're like in the street.
No,
Okay,
no.
I was a little worried about the unaccompanied.
That was another thing.
Okay,
So
okay.
basically it's just
That
not,
makes me
whoever,
feel a
like,
little
they're
better.
living, they could be an aunt, but they're not technically a guardian. 'cause
Correct.
You can't consider them a guardian unless there's been legal document.
Well, or unless that person comes in and is willing to sign that they're designating themselves as the caregiver for the student.
Other questions for Denise? Kara. See how I did that? I waited till you had to cough.
I took 3 students to the U of M. They had an American Indian Student Recruitment Day. We had a blast. They did a campus tour. We actually got to sit in a couple classes, kind of mock classes. Talked about different incentives they have for Native students, help that they have, scholarships, that kind of stuff. So the conversation on the way back, it was nice bringing such a small group because then we all got to chat together and just hearing them talk about like, oh, I didn't realize there were so many Native people, or that they have both Ojibwe and Dakota classes there. So it was a really good time. My Indigenous arts class, for the 2nd year in a row now, we make blankets for elders. So Frank Taylor, tribal chief of police, brings in the fabric and scissors and we make blankets. So we're still working on a time to deliver those. My kids have, it's kind of one of the fun arts class that they really enjoy. And then I heard that there was a question about numbers. It wasn't last month because we skipped that month, but the month before. So I have 140 Native students for Title VI this year. And that's out of 416 for the district. So that's 34%. Last year it was 132 out of 405 at 33%. And this has been consistent over years. Like we just kind of go up by like 1 or 2%. I think when I started working, we were in like the 25%. So I don't, more people having kids, or we have totally revamped kind of like just the paperwork gathering part, make it a little bit more streamlined. And then I didn't put on here, but Rachel McNally and I were able to go to Boston the weekend before Thanksgiving. We got a scholarship from the Bezos Family Foundation to attend Learning and Brain Conference, which was excellent. They had speakers, national speakers, talking about student motivation, stress, dealing with kind of that post-pandemic stuff, and just a lot of brain science in there. And like Ms. Campbell said, I love it that they're starting to put stuff online because it's just so much information, 3 days of just learning. So now I can pull that back up. So anyway, I just wanted to add that because it was a really great opportunity. I was really happy that we were able to get the scholarship.
Questions for Tara? Okay, then. We move on to the approval of the minutes. Motion by Katie, seconded by Kelly, to accept the regular school board meeting minutes of October 24th, 2022. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. New business, outdoor classroom. Information.
I kind of forgot this was on here. I submitted the language grants last month. And I went to the Buildings and Grounds Committee to talk about, we don't have the language grant yet, but I did write in the budget, money for an outdoor classroom. Probably placed, like behind the playground, just to double check, there's not a map of the package. Okay, I'll explain later.
There is a map.
He's not gonna help me.
We're talking about here.
Yeah.
I think we're.
Oh. All right, so. To be placed
Location, yeah.
somewhere, location to be determined. And it's all depending on.
But it will be on here on the school grounds as opposed to like the school
Yeah.
forest. Okay.
And the goal would be to use it, number one, for our sugar bush operation. Just when it's raining and snowing, the kids can be dry. Apparently, they really like that, just to be dry. And then my goal would be to allow other people to use it, kind of to be checked out like we used to do with computer labs. So, but that's all. We don't have the money yet. We have not been approved for the grant yet. Just wanted to make sure it was something that.
I think it's something we do.
I should keep. it.
Yeah, I think that everybody's very interested in that idea, so. We've talked about it before and it's kind of a matter of where to come up with enough money to do it, so. All right, cross country.
Okay, Mr. Howe spoke earlier. We took this to personnel, budget finance.
Budget. Yeah, budget
And
finance.
we talked about, whether or not cross country should become a sport. We had, talked back and forth. Jeff had had some talent this year. I don't know how many total girls it ended up with. I think it's 7. 6. And so there was discussion about whether or not to make it a WIAA sport, and the committee voted to bring forth the potential of making cross country a WIAA sport. So I guess I'll open it up that way.
Yeah, so at the committee, we were a little bit split. And I will tell you, I have some concerns with only 6 people and putting forth money towards a sport that only had 6 people participate. I realize it could go way up, but I also know from other sports that it can also reverse and we can end up with nobody. And so I'm just cautious about allotting money to a sport that we can't show numbers for. That's my only concern, is the number end of it. And Jim had a different idea. So Jim, you go ahead and share your view here.
Well, I feel that we need to put the money into that. It's not a lot of money. It's just for a coach and some bus and things, right?
Mostly busing
And meets.
and meets.
Yeah, and a coach, just one coach. is all we really need, and I don't. We haven't determined where we place them on the schedule, but I really don't think it's gonna be a lot of money. And I think cross-country is really important. It's a very good sport. I had all my kids do cross-country.
Would there be a dollar difference if we tried to co-op with a different school for it? As opposed to having
You
our
know,
own?
co-oping, it doesn't work very well because as soon as you start putting school populations together, then you're changing your level. So they go from a Division 3 to Division 2 or something like that.
I think
And
we've
most
tried-
schools
we've
don't
tried
wanna do
co-op
that.
several times.
Schools don't want to
We
cooperate.
wanted to-
Bottom line is they don't.
But no one, no
They
one.
don't want to do it unless you get two districts that have to have the
Mhm.
joining in order to have a team.
And it depends on numbers. We had one month after it was approved, before the season started, and it was summertime, and kids didn't even know what was going on.
Mhm.
So it was tough to, you know.
Would it only be girls cross country or?
We had it for both,
Okay.
but
But
Just only had
only
girls
girls ran out.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
some kids injured, boys on the boys side that didn't, so they didn't do it.
Okay.
But,
Well, and there might be some.
and we need to expand it down to middle school too, so we get a, you know, so we get a feeder program. Middle school kids are excited about it. There's a lot of freshmen that are excited about it. Next year's
Yeah,
freshmen.
8th graders.
How many of those kids came from other sports? Like
What's
that how many of those kids were from other sports that they used to play? None of them. So it's
It was only
new.
six girls.
Kids that were out this year for sure were not in any other sport.
Okay,
And the kids, the 8th graders that have asked me about it are not in volleyball.
okay.
And we didn't take anybody from the football team. You know, I'm not gonna say somebody might not ever defect from, not in football, but nobody left football, nobody left volleyball. Cross country. Which is not what we wanted to do. We're trying to get the kids who are sitting at home. So.
Right.
And is there a cost estimate? I mean, you're saying it's not a lot, but is there any
Well,
dollar
Jeff,
figure to
outside of
this?
well, we had a number, outside of the coaching piece, you had spent some money.
I think it was in the 650-ish range.
Yeah.
And you know, we went to 6 meets, I guess.
And you took a
And 2 schools waived the fee for us because they knew we were trying to start. Webster told me not to turn it in, and so I didn't turn it in. So they.
We were only JV, so they
waived it
couldn't
because
win
they know we're
anything
trying to
anyway.
get started.
Yeah, so I mean,
Everybody was excited to have us there, all the other schools.
and I mean, we talked about providing opportunities for our kids. I mean, if we're really gonna be fair about this. We have to provide opportunity. I mean, if you really wanna go down that road, either you do or you don't, you know. And I talked to Carson, he said he'll do whatever the board recommends. I mean, he'll submit the paperwork, whatever it is. And I just did let him know. I invited him to come and speak to it. Obviously, he didn't think it was necessary, but he said, just tell me what to do and he'll submit. So that was the only thing I thought of was if we're really gonna provide opportunities for our kids, let's step up and provide opportunities for our kids. Now, I don't know. Other than that, what the board thinks, that's just my opinion.
My opinion on this, I know it wasn't asked, but we have such a poverty level in our school, and cross-country is something that you can do for your health your entire life, and you don't need anything but shoes. Like, it just makes sense to me, like it's, I mean, everything else you need to have equipment or, you know, courts or something like that. Just makes sense to me.
I just have one question. I'm all for cross country. I ran it when I was a kid. But do we have to hold meets when we become WIA?
We don't have.
We don't have to.
At some point I'd like to, but not
well, here's my other concern. Now we're talking a feeder program. Now you're talking you need middle school and high school. You talking about running them together? Are you talking about running 2
I
programs?
think that's.
Which is double the cost?
Board can-
Do you see what I'm saying?
That would
So there's a lot more to
like
it
to
than this.
have, but is there an outlet to have a middle school team and have them race against other middle schoolers, or is the rest of the league set up?
All the other schools have a middle school. All the meets are the
Does it-
same day as high school.
But you have to pay for
Same
both
day,
teams.
the middle school typically runs first, not always, but typically runs first, then the high school.
And what's a typical fee for a meet?
It ranged from, I think the cheapest one was 75, and I think conference was one.
I believe so. You can ask him to tell.
But it, you know, and we only used the van, of course, this past year, so that was, you know, fairly inexpensive to drive back and forth. You know, once we get a few more kids, we're gonna.
Then they're gonna have to have busing.
It's gonna need a bus.
Is it 75 each, middle school
No,
and
for
then?
the team.
Yeah, but if
Right,
there's a
you
middle
said
school
that the
meet
middle
and a
school
high
team
school.
And a high school team. So
So one fee.
One fee for the school. I mean, worst case scenario, we try it for a couple of years and it doesn't go. You don't get the participation, then it just gets eliminated as a sport, then there's not.
it's harder
Once
to
we
eliminate
get-
than it is to
Once
start.
we get.
It's
going,
actually way too easy to get rid of a sport compared to putting one in.
Yeah.
Maybe it would help push the referendum through. If we have a cross-country team that's gonna need the track, that's gonna
They
need.
don't,
They don't
They don't
use
use
the
a
track,
track.
cross country. That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Wrong sport, Carrie.
Lot of.
Not on our track, but
Yeah, track, we're training.
and Kevin, when is it due to the WIA?
How many injuries against the school?
by February like 3rd or something.
Yeah,
I don't know how long that takes, so we.
We could do, it can be approved in the January meeting if we want to just think about it. Maybe get some better costs. Is there
Yeah, I
any
think
chance
we
of getting any kind of realistic numbers? And costs if you were to pay for your meets and busing
I mean, we can run.
by January?
We can run scenarios.
What?
I don't think we can, it's till January, because by the time you say yes in January. That's a.
Application needs to be done.
I mean, I don't. You know. and it's
But
gonna
if
be
that's what we
something
said, that's what they're gonna have to do.
What budget does it come out of? Like what? I don't know. Is there a specific?
I think
It'll have to come out of the general
There's
fund.
an athletic budget?
Well, we'll have to put more money in the athletic budget if we're gonna cover.
There's also fundraising that programs can do. I mean, families and kids, most of them, most athletic programs do, we're doing some type of fundraising
I think
to help cover
Yeah.
costs. I don't know of any sport that we're not doing fundraisers here, and there's no reason cross country wouldn't do the same to help meet some of the costs. I mean, it's great too, because it's co-ed, it's same team, same, you know, they go on the same bus, they go to the same meet. You know, it's just an opportunity for all students at one time.
I personally would like to table it until we get how much it's gonna cost for, if it does go for kids, we then need a bus instead of a van.
It does change the costs quite a
Right.
bit because we have
It does
busing.
change the cost a lot, so I
We
think.
got a December meeting.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know how, if it has to go through the AD's committee and then the superintendent's committee. And then before it goes to the WIA, I don't know how long that whole process takes. I don't think, you know.
I don't know. I can't honestly speak
Yeah,
to it.
Can we
If we,
compare it to
so
another sport?
We could compare it to track and then drop it some, because obviously there's a lot more money.
No, I
we
can,
don't-
I can come up with a fair
There's
handle on
equipment money and stuff.
budget. If we look at bus, if we're actually thinking we gotta take a bus, that's reasonable. A coach, I know what his salary will be, then the entry fees. I mean, I can.
I mean, for track, he's saying it's a lot less, but I don't see how it is. It's still a bus. right?
Yeah, I don't.
So it's whether it's a bus with
Less when you
50
pick a
kids on it or, yeah,
Is it
we're
how many
not gonna be able to take the bank.
Six,
Oh, we just pay for,
Yeah.
So if 10 kids or 100 kids went out, obviously. 100 many put on the flag, but If 10 kids went out compared to 30 kids,
I think
same
they don't,
cost.
they weren't at was like Amory, some really
For
big,
other-
we just
we were
pay for
somewhere out. in Phillips.
Yes.
pay for the coach.
Yeah.
Well, I know, because if the numbers go over certain, then you have a second coach.
Yeah. See, that's.
So that, and it's, well,
But
I'm a band
Right.
to a bus.
specific dollar amount per
correct.
You know, whatever.
Get to some.
Okay, do we want to table it or does someone want to?
I would make a motion that we continue on with at least the paperwork of WIA and all that. So the motion would not be to pay for anything other than have Karsten move on with what we have to get done. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim, seconded by Dwayne, to have Carson work on the paperwork to have it added with a board decision later. Is that correct, Jim?
Correct.
So we're still
So,
tabling part of it.
yes,
But
for
not,
later.
not the paperwork.
He can start on the
Paperwork
but they can
has to
start the
move it.
paper, okay?
we'll get the budget going through.
and then they can work on a budget. Yes, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Paperwork can be begun. All right. Door quotes.
All right. Went out requested 3 quotes.
Okay, well, first of all, what door is B three?
That's the band room.
Thank you. Okay, now that I know where we're talking about, now go ahead.
Buildings and grounds have to review this.
Friend's door.
Yeah, building and ground, we've already reviewed it, building and ground, but basically, I went to a company out of Minneapolis. And Indian Head over in Rice Lake. Indian Head came out, did all the measurements, never sent in a quote. The other one was, I think the total after labor was 11.5. And being the fact that we're Rice Lake Glass Doors company, we had installed probably most of all of our doors, if not all of them. We decided that we go with the aluminum doors, like to match the ones out front, commons, of like $3. And the aluminum will hold up better against the salt versus steel doors.
The lower bid one was for a steel door that was
Yes, it was.
painted, so it was
Exactly.
not as high quality
Thank
metal
you.
and not painted. So it was a little bit more for this one, but better door.
Okay,
Yes. So we as a committee decided to go with Rice Lake Glass door for the aluminum door. This is the current quote of 12,889.
Were you gonna check on if you had hardware?
I have, this is with use of the old hardware, and actually I have some new hardware. Like the door closers I have, the hinges I have.
but they're in here.
The reuse, because it was
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be
a
like,
reuse balance hardware, door closers, rim cylinders.
Tim Reed, oh,
electric
what-
lights.
Because it was gonna be a few $1,000s more for the
Okay.
hardware if you had to buy the hardware.
You feel confident in this then?
Yes, they do.
We talked specifically at the building, it's not that good.
I know, but even.
So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
There you
second
go,
it.
with Rice Lake Glass Door Company. To
I have a motion by Jim, seconded by Katie, to go with Rice Lake Glass and Door for the band B3 doors. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Propping door policy.
Okay, this would be for handbooks and, we had talked about this as policy about some of our staff members who prop doors open and that. We just don't want that to happen. We don't want that to occur. And we want the policy to have some teeth. And so we took it, and I took this from a safety manual for the Department of Justice in Wisconsin. And the only thing we had talked a little bit about, and Jim had brought up that there needs to be some consequences, some teeth to this if in fact staff were neglecting to do this, because obviously in that one most recent shooting that, well, not most recent.
Yeah.
One of the shootings, the door was left open and propped open, and that's how the shooter got in. So that was scary to us. And so, I added the sentence at the end, failure to abide by the safety rule will result in disciplinary action as recommended by the Board of Education. I just wanted the staff to know the Board of Education is behind this.
Mhm.
So, we can follow the disciplinary process that we would follow in any other thing, but I just want the Board of Education listed in there, and I think that's what you wanted as well.
Well, I'd actually like to add just a little bit more onto that last sentence.
Okay.
Something like up to and including dismissal. I want them to know we're serious about this. If somebody breaks into the building and somebody gets hurt, that person should be fired, whoever propped it open.
what are the disciplinary actions recommended by the Board of Education?
Well,
That's whatever we
That's,
decide.
he would bring it to the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
it would, typically we have a process with a written, verbal, verbal,
Yep.
written, and then there's a suspension, with pay, without pay, and it just, there's a process.
Yep.
But if the board felt it needed to be more
Just more obvious is what I want. It's, because some people think it's just a slap on the wrist, but I really, if something bad happens here, it should be
I
everything.
mean, I could check legally. I didn't check.
Yeah, I guess I'm opposed to using it as a threat. I think that the people in this building are intelligent enough to be, that if they are told not to open a door, that they won't open a door. I don't feel the need to threaten their livelihood in this case. I guess I would be opposed to saying that we're going to dismiss someone for this reason
Though
without
that would
going
still
through
be an
the,
option.
it would be eventually, but I would like the entire procedure followed. I don't want to just threaten people.
So
We worked hard to get people in this building in a good place.
this is something that occurred in the past, and I don't know, I think we're okay now. Haven't heard anything.
Well, I think it never used to be a thing. I mean, it got hot, somebody propped open a door. It wasn't really a big deal, but now it's become a big deal.
I
And
don't
we
know
have
anything recent, I guess.
a better cooling system in the building and we have better ventilation systems in the building. So it shouldn't be the same concern that it was a few years ago.
And this is regarding just exterior doors?
Yes. And I think part of the issue was it was used for transportation. So one teacher didn't want his kids or himself to go around. So he would prop the door open to make it quicker and easier through. And I don't know that that's not necessary. I don't believe. So
Correct.
that was where it all stemmed from, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know exactly what happened there, but.
And so the recommendation is that this goes as an addition to the handbook. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we add the propping of doors policy to the staff handbook or the staff edition of the handbook.
I'll second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Options for third grade discussion.
My numbers are greatly increasing in third grade. Not grade level I would want to see, but there they are.
Yeah.
So business is booming in third grade. I am at 21 in each classroom right now. I am proposing that if I could get a short-term, a person with a short-term sub-license in, that way, they have that teacher capacity. They would be able to remove students and work with them in smaller groups in different classrooms to lessen the amount of students in there. They would be working with them on reading and math, especially, but it would help with some of the behaviors if we can lessen them. I am not looking at separating the groups at this point. This third person would be going between the two classrooms. And we would be coming up with a plan as to how that person would be utilized. So they would be paid as a substitute, a long-term sub, basically.
Is that posting stuff to be made or is there a person in mind for it already?
I do have a person in mind who has that, but I would put a posting out. And just in-house, basically.
And so we will be hiring a long-term sub, but the licensure will be
Yeah, the
something you have to
licensure,
worry about. We don't have to worry about that. You'll take it. Okay. So I make a motion, we hire a long-term sub to help in the third grade.
I'll second.
So motion by myself, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
They started at 17 and they're up to 21.
I know.
So they have-
If they'd had 21 before school started, we'd have hired a third teacher. But we have no way of knowing that we're gonna get that kind of an increase at one grade level. I mean, there's just no way. 8 kids in. That's just crazy.
I know.
All right, referendum discussion.
Okay, you go ahead and start.
Okay, so in budget, we've been discussing referendum options. The 300,000 3-year non-recurring referendum is expiring. We did very, very well. I personally feel with the 300,000, we stayed in budget. We
We
had,
didn't have to make any cuts.
we have not,
Made
well-
programs.
The basis for the referendum, for the operating referendum was that we would not cut any staff. That we would not cut arts, we would not cut music. We just weren't gonna do it. But we had to have the money to support the programs.
And we made those programs from part-time to full-time. And you can see the result. That was a half-time position,
Mhm.
and you can see where it's going. So we want to maintain those programs. That was one of the main reasons for it.
So after some discussion, my best guess would be that we should go to 400,000 because of inflationary reasons. I think that we've done very well, that we've managed with the 300 without having to do anything for 3 full years. I think 400,000 is a more reasonable number based on today's economy. I also think that the difference between a $300,000 and a $400,000 referendum to an average taxpayer is very small. When you take an extra 100,000, you spread it out over the tax base, it's just not that much money. I again think it needs to be non-recurring. I've lived in this district now for a long time. I do not believe the taxpayers of this district. So does everybody know what non-recurring and recurring means, first of all, before I go any further? Okay, non-recurring means it has an end date. Recurring means it goes on forever. I do not personally believe that the taxpayers of the school district of Siren will ever give us a free pass on a recurring referendum. That's my personal belief. I've been here through a lot of referendums. I've seen a lot of them fail. Been lucky enough to see a few of them pass. I would like to go for a 5-year, non-recurring operating referendum for $400,000. But that's just my opinion. So I would like to hear what someone else has to say.
Well, my opinion is that the school district would be willing to do a recurring referendum, which means it just goes on. After all, we haven't had anything like that since the QEO back in '93. Never had an option of actually adding money in until we did referendums. Some passed, some failed. I think we should do recurring. I think we also have to consider the fact that our teachers are paid about as low as it gets, even with what we've done recently. And I think we should go for 650 just to try to maintain what we have. Because I've been looking at the budget and I'm seeing things falling apart after maybe 2 years. And we won't have enough to sustain the people we have. 650 would just do it. And I really think the community would support that. This is just operating. They have to come back every 5 years to try to maintain something that if they said no, we'll lose a lot more than we actually. That doesn't go through, it'll be a lot worse than what it was before.
So you're saying 650.
I'm saying 650 because we also have wage increases and just to try to keep up with what we have right now. Right now, we're not even talking wage increases. Just the 650 would maintain what we have right now. 400 would be short.
I don't think so, because I think that people are going to start retiring in 2 or 3 years and the incoming salaries are going to be less than the outgoing salaries. And I think we've already projected that out.
Yeah, our county projection, we're at about 33% is over 65 right now, and by 2040, it'll be over 50%, 65 and over. So we have a vastly retiring community.
That is not going to want to that they're just not going to go for it. They're not, first of all, they're going to say the school population has decreased, and it has. Not by a lot, but nobody's going to agree to give $650,000 a year with no end to a decreasing school population. I don't see it. I don't see it.
So what I did then, after the committee was talking about this, I called bond counsel right away because I just want to make sure we had deadlines in there. So what you have in your packet there is a sample ballot. And what bond counsel told me to do was, you don't have to make any decision tonight on numbers. I mean, it would be good if you did, but you don't have to. You don't have to, and we won't be able to totally on the
The second.
if you guys decide on what you're gonna do with the next question, if you decide on that. So we'll have to get firm numbers, but we have last referendum's numbers is what we have. So what they want is they just want to make sure the referendum ballot questions seem reasonable to you. And when we get into the second question, the order of the apparatus is a key. So this is nothing, we have until January 24th to get our resolutions into the Department of Public Instruction to meet the deadline for referendum, for the general, for the spring general. So we're fine in terms of time. The only thing is, we don't want to wait until the 23rd to do it. We just want to make sure we start, having meetings or bringing people in terms of if you want to go to the other question, whatever. So that's what that is. And so we're on the radar bond council. We're okay there. They've already created ballots for us. Then based on what the board feels like they want to do, then they'll create the resolutions that we'll have to approve at a board meeting that go to Department of Public Instruction. And then they create the back, then we go to ballot. So we have some time. I just wanted to lay out the timeline for you. So we have a little bit of time. We do have a break coming up, but I would say mid-January for sure, we need to know what we're doing. And we may require some special meetings to do that. And when I brought this up, we were just talking operating. We weren't necessarily, I didn't know the committee wanted to go to a football field because it failed and that. So we were just talking operating. And then the committee came up with wanting to look at the field. We also talked about the playground in that process. If we were gonna try and put a field in, then we would include the playground in that, I assume, or whatever the board decides. And then the other piece of that is, we talked about, the first time around was an artificial surface in a different facility. And Dwayne and I were talking, maybe a natural surface is more the way we're going now, which might not be as expensive. I don't know. It's whatever the board wants to do, but we can look at different options for the field in terms of the cost. We just kind of have to decide what we want. And then we start looking at where that number fits in. The last time it was a $2 million number. And the location, the placement of it, totally what you guys want to look at. We just need some input from, that's what our contractor recommended at that time.
Does this include a new weight room? Because if it doesn't, I would like to include a new weight room. If we're gonna go referendum, we're looking at a playground, we're looking at a new football field. Why not throw in the weight room? Because that's 80 years old. I mean, there's nothing motivational about our weight room.
I'll never argue any facility with you. The only thing I didn't know was, we talked weight room before. We had talked weight room before, but the problem with the current weight room is it wasn't doing for expansion. So,
We'd actually have to build on.
so
I mean, could we build between the building there where that shape already is? Like, is that, I mean, I know we do like a garden thing out there, but is that space that potentially could house a new weight room?
Wait a minute,
Which.
Yeah.
Which you say?
Over by the last
Garden.
one.
Yeah, where's the water
School
is
garden.
and the elementary wing.
Where the school garden.
Oh, where the
Oh.
school garden is.
There's a lot more issues to deal with,
Yeah.
especially if it goes from wall to wall.
Yeah,
You'll cover all.
huge building issues.
it's up to you guys.
Okay, let's stick to one first, okay? Let's talk operating first, and then we'll talk building, okay? So I've said my opinion, Jim's given you his opinion. Does anyone else have any opinions? Now's your time to talk about this.
I mean, how many staff do we have that we think would be retiring? Thus, we wouldn't have to increase wages for them because newer people coming in would be at a lesser rate. Would some of that balance out what you're considering as needing to?
Well, when we did the salary schedules and we talked about the raises, we looked at some of those numbers. Bryn, you were part of that, right? And there were teachers that were there that said they would retire in 3 years if they got a raise. They were just waiting for their raise to get the retirement. So-
Think of 3 in my department that'll be out in the next 5.
Okay.
And I know there's a couple in, at least 1 or 2 in the elementary as well. So, and I know that we have high school teachers also that are
So
been
that-
here a long time.
That would buy us
Yes,
5 years at least to consider.
In
if
my
then
opinion.
We've got.
we may have to cut
staff that
something
we
else, but
should-
it wouldn't be staff. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think that we've done a good job. That fund balance granted, could be higher, but we're where we're high enough that we're not taking a hit on loans right now. Is it ideal? No, but we've kept within the budget without taking money out of it, which is saying something.
But I want people to understand, we're not cutting salaries. We're not making
Cutting
cuts
positions.
in order to fund money to put it into fund balance. That's what happens. People try to build that fund balance because it has a lot to do with your value. We chose to focus on a smaller number, the 300,000, and just focus on educating our kids. We did take a hit on the fund balance, and I do it again today. Instead of stockpiling that fund balance to, 25% or whatever it was, we need to educate our kids with our budget, not stockpile it in fund balance. And I know I'll get criticized for something.
And see,
But
when we did it with 300,000 this year, and we came out okay. And we didn't come out with much wiggle room, but we came out okay. And so that's why I'm saying 400, because I think if we ask the voters of this district to double what they gave us, and they're gonna say, what are you gonna do with it? You made it on 300 last year. Why do you want 600 next year? And I live in this community. I talk to people every single day in this community. People are cheap. I'm sorry. And when they see numbers going down and they want to know why should we give you more money to do less? And they don't realize that if you have 22 kids in a classroom or you have 15 kids in a classroom, you still got to have a teacher and you still got to have materials and it costs the same thing. And I don't know. Anyone have any opinions whatsoever here?
Well, I just don't really sound like opinion to our question. So like, say we went high, or say it gets turned down, what happens then?
You have to wait.
Referendum, and I mean,
Then we gotta start
we
looking
could do another.
Then you have to look at
300,000,
cuts.
could not.
No, you can't ask
So
again.
then what happens?
You can only ask. They've changed the referendum procedure.
that's in your packet as well.
So is it two?
Yeah, so.
Two in a
you can only
year,
ask
calendar year.
questions in a calendar year.
So if it gets turned down,
We have to wait a calendar.
you have to
year.
wait a calendar year to ask again.
In the meantime.
In the meantime, you have to cut.
We'd have to
You
make.
can't
Yeah.
go back in the fall and ask, like in the old days, you go back in the.
We
fall.
used to be able to ask as much as you want. You can't anymore. They've changed the
So-
ruling.
Typically what happens is then you just make cuts to meet that budget shortfall.
And then you have to go back and beg for the money back so you can undo the cuts. And the harm has already been done because it's already been lost.
And I think the problem we've been facing is
You don't have any.
in the older days, I think you
I
could
do.
probably cut, but
Thanks.
now our one student. Mental health needs has changed dramatically from 10 years ago. I mean, even though your population of students decreases, your student needs, Jamie can attest to this. She can attest to this. 1 to 2 kids can occupy weeks of your time.
And face it, the fact that kids were locked out of the building for a certain length of time did harm to them. I mean, we can't give back what was taken from them. And I'm sure that there's a certain number, especially the younger kids who are feared that they're going to lock the doors again and they get breakfast here and they get lunch here and they have someone that listens to them here. And they don't if they're not here. It's a sad enough fact. This is the safe place for some of those kids, the only one they have. And we messed that up for them because now they don't trust the one safe thing they had. Wayne?
I'd rather just have a question of, are we gonna go to referendum or not?
You mean like a poll?
Right now, yeah, because the fact that we're throwing numbers out and we don't even know what the hell we're talking about. I mean, we already had a number 300,000. Jim wants to go to 6 something, but we should sit down here and do this correctly and figure out a number. What are we looking at? We did raise this, right? Okay, where were we at? What's the inflation cost? We should start figuring this all out and then come up with a number, go from there, then decide recurring or non-recurring.
And
with the
number,
number.
400,000 is number we feel like in the district office we can live with.
But that's not true. For the fact that when you start looking at stuff, we talked about this before, but now inflation hit us.
But I also look at what the taxpayer can afford and
Right,
willing to pay. And that's why I suggested 300,000 even again. But I just wanted the taxpayer to realize we're not asking for more than what we need. We're just trying to maintain. So we had a little bit of a dip in our budget the first year, second year, we had a surplus, we had a little bit of a surplus this year. So we're pretty close, within $20,000 a year within budget. And Laura and I, looking at it, and talking about it, we felt like within 3 years, we were talking 3, that we could handle, well, she wanted 400 and I agree with her on that, but I was worried about the taxpayer wondering why we would ask for more. And we got to explain that.
And we gotta come up with them answers. And we have to come up with some answers. We're gonna ask for some money. We better come up with some answers. Before we come up with an amount.
I mean,
Yeah.
at going 100,000 more, I think would be a fairly reasonable jump for people with the thought of inflation, but I agree, like I don't have those specific numbers of, you know, how much payroll is and what we expect it to be in 3 years. I don't even know if that's a thing that we do, forecasting.
We
it out
do
that far.
forecast, but it's not a
hard,
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, health insurance, you don't know, like we have a range. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But it, you know, with student aid and things like that, I mean, we estimate, Laura does a budget, we basically budget on last year's amounts.
Right.
That's all we can do. And so I think what the problem is, we're worried about after next year, what's the salary schedule gonna look like? And how many people are gonna retire? And we have, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, we have some numbers that do show that. When we did that forecast, we looked at the forecast
Yes.
on that. I mean, we could show you guys that. You-
In year 3, yeah, it showed in year 3 that
Look at possible. But it's the big question is whether or not they.
actually do it or not,
And
yeah.
year 3 is next year? Is that
No,
what
year
you're-
3 of the salary increase would be 2 years from now.
2 years from now, okay.
What about the building like me? I mean, every time I think Craig gets a quote here, you know, it's probably a lot more than what you assume, you know, we have chillers and everything else. Like, I think that's another thing that, and I don't know how that, you know, maybe that's already budgeted and factored in certain things, but like. I
We
just
do,
feel
we
like
do
bigger-
have a budget for that area, but things happen that we can't forecast.
Well, that's what I meant, so I'm thinking
The
of.
big
like,
things, Craig
under
could speak to
400.
that too, but we did use some of the federal money for our HVAC and infrastructure systems that we didn't have.
Right.
I don't know if you want to speak to any of that, Craig, but
The ESSER 3 funds for last year spent on 2 units for all rooms that had them, which was a total of 31 systems. Which total cost, I think, was 380, somewhere around there, 8,000. But we used all of that money basically to upgrade every room in here with these units. Now, the chiller, boy, this is gonna be really complicated situation. Because we wanna upgrade the chillers to handle expansion of including the gyms, even if we don't expand. But yet I'm ending up looking at 2 units and 80 tons apiece to replace a 110 unit. And now I'm having to deal with engineering issues on the roof, power issues, which could be a really big issue, because it's gonna have to require another whole power unit. So I'm almost having to go look back and see if we can't get a single unit versus a double unit, because of power capabilities. Try and run 2 systems up there. might be,
so to predict that cost,
You
where
can't.
are you? I mean,
That's right
You
now,
can't.
they have 200. It's over 280,000 just for the. And installation. And if we have to upgrade the power. It's getting close to 500.
All right, so we're gonna look at 400,000. Let's say we're gonna look at
Okay.
400,000 plus what?
I mean, for the second question.
Yeah, what's our playground?
Oh,
We're looking
well,
at, probably 2.5 million. I need to get an okay to go forward with looking into that, if you want me to do that, but we looked at roughly 500,000 for the playground apparatus, then you've got calls into pavement contractors. So
I showed up today for evaluation, like the blacktop area, like. So, should have some numbers on that, right?
and depending on what we want to do with the field, I think at a minimum, we're looking at 2.5 million. For one question, that's whatever you guys decide on the other question.
Well, I think that before we can make a real decision on the building question, which is the track, because that's considered building,
Yeah. and all I
the
had
track,
last time-
the football field and the playground, I think we need to get the engineering company to look at it again and tell them that we still want a track, obviously, because
Right.
we have more kids in track, I think, than probably any other sport in this building.
Right.
We need a football field, but we don't need all the extras. How much to get a football field with a track around it and a decent playground for the elementary
So
school?
what I needed from you tonight is, do I go forward on looking into this and coming up? We don't have to have numbers just yet. based on the-
Correct, especially on this one.
Because that's
Yeah.
why they're left. I mean, if you look at the ballots and you want to include the playground in here, that's what I need to know. If you want to include the playground.
I want the
in
playground
here,
included.
Then does the
It's only
playground
fair.
appear first on the ballot?
Yes. I think you'll get a lot of people that are more.
What do you mean by first?
Well, it's listed in the ballot.
Like it was an afterthought in the last referendum and wasn't only like 50,000
We
set
didn't really
aside
push
for
it,
it.
yeah.
And that would.
Oh, you just mean how it's arranged in the question
Yeah,
itself?
That's really important.
You're not talking about changing the question order.
No,
You're talking about
they
changing
wanna
the
know
wording in the
question-
question.
They want to know if the question is reasonable to you and does it suffice in terms of the order of?
I think the playground, the track, the football field is less important than those two in my mind, if we're gonna put them in the order of
You
importance.
tell me what you want in terms of the order of the ballot.
I would say,
I need the board to weigh in on this.
okay,
Yeah, what,
I would-
okay.
I hear what you say.
I would say improvements to the elementary program, construction of a track and a football field. And then the infrastructure, whatever that has to go along with it. But we need to, we need to go bare bones as much as we can on the football field. We need the field, we need the track. We don't need high-class bleachers. We don't need, we can make do.
Can move the bleachers.
Yeah, we can move bleachers. We gotta have lighting, because that's the law. I mean, we can't have kids out there in the dark cramming into each other, but I think the playground needs to be first and the track second and the football field third, in my personal opinion.
And was the playground going here on this original? plan?
No,
No, there'll be a new drawing that'll show it.
Yeah.
yeah, but it would have to be over in this
So clear
section.
the wood.
There would have to be a little bit cleared out, probably not.
Because this is all too far away from the elementary.
Yeah.
I don't know how well this drawing fits.
It doesn't right now anymore. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
That's why we need a new one.
I
All I
know
had.
for a
Yep.
fact that one person last year turned, or 2 years ago, when it came to referendum, turned it down just due to the location. All right. There's, because they grew up here, they played in that backfield softball and whatnot, it's in the water buildup back there, it's pretty bad. And he thought that the best place would be put it where the original track was before it was built.
We had engineers come look at all this stuff.
Where was the original track?
It ran from the road to the east. So instead of,
Here in the practice field is what you're saying.
Practice.
Practice.
From
Right.
Ford,
No,
east.
East would be
that's
that
not
way.
where the track was when I was in high
the
school.
road,
And I thought that was the original track when I
You
was.
could
in high
still
school.
see remnants of the track out there.
In the
and
practice
the
field?
other thing
Right here next to the
is that the ground base should already be there from the original track.
I mean, we can have these discussions with the contractor. I just need to know if I'm going forward.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't a regular track. It wasn't like a track now.
Beautiful until we move forward.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
talk. Okay,
I need direction from the.
okay, yep, we're gonna. So here is my suggestion. I would like to make a motion that we have Kevin go back to Rutler and have them give us new costs and drawings to include the playground and bring it back to us, to the budget or buildings or both at the next committee meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by myself, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay. As far as the operating referendum. I'm gonna go ahead and make my motion. I'm gonna change a little bit from what I first said. We're 400,000 non-recurring, but I'm gonna say 3 years instead of 5, because that'll give us time to see where the salaries are at that point.
Can we add in there, like Dwayne said, at trying to, people are gonna ask why we need that extra money compared to
we'll get-
before.
Oh, we get to that.
When Kevin always thought.
Yeah, that, I
We have a
didn't.
meeting and put all that out. We
Okay,
just need to know what we're doing going forward, so they have some
Okay.
You
idea.
have to come up with final.
So that's my motion, if anyone's gonna second it.
say it again. What did you say?
400,000 non-recurring 3 years.
I'll second. Those 3 years instead of. 5 years.
Yes,
Okay. I'll
that
second
gives us time to see what the budget's doing in 3 years.
Okay.
Okay, motion by myself, seconded by Kelly. Does anyone, any discussion?
Yes.
Okay,
So right now, we're gonna have a salary drop off at the end, July of 25. This school year, next school year, we're covered. So that would be, 22, 23, 23, 24. Then all of a sudden, 24, 25, we're not covered. We do this 3-year thing, we're gonna be off by a year. We're gonna have a drop off, we're gonna have to do a budget cut, all kinds of things.
wait a minute. Why are you saying that? It'll be 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26.
That's for the referendum. I'm
Correct.
saying we're gonna have a salary issue before that. So.
But if people retire and leave, the new people that come in. will
Are
be-
making less
Years
money.
won't be up in that time either.
We don't know that they're all gonna wait 3 years. We just know that a number of people have said that they're getting close to retirement.
Yeah,
I mean,
I,
we had one person in that
Yeah.
meeting that specifically said she wanted 3 years.
yeah, and the 3 years wouldn't be up for what we're paying right now. We don't have the money there to cover that last year. 350 will be down for that year.
Any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
5-1. All right. So meeting calendars are the only thing left. I'd like everybody to please look at the calendar in your packet. Fourth Monday is on the 26th, which is the day after Christmas, and it's winter break here at school. I would like to propose, now that there's not a 6 o'clock concert on the 19th, that we have the monthly meeting on the 19th versus the 26th at 6 p.m. Does that not work for anyone? That's fine?
Yep.
Jim?
I'm fine.
What time is it?
6, same, but just move it up a week to the 3rd Monday instead of the 4th Monday
Kelly, are your kids middle school? I wonder anything, there's a middle school concert.
at 7.
At 7.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, but so we're-
Dwayne?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right, so the regular meeting will be on the 19th at 6 p.m. Okay? That being
Any
said,
discussion on moving that up to be 5:30-ish?
can anyone make 5:30?
Sure, I'm good. I can, I'm good.
Yeah,
Yes, I can.
5:30?
3 o'clock?
If we start at 5:30, we'll be done by 7 for sure.
If we're not, I'm walking out.
Because we can have deferred reports too,
So 5:30 is.
if we need to, okay?
5:30 or 5?
5:30. 5:30, the 19th. Okay, that being said, budget finance. 12th work,
My evenings are booked.
okay,
If we could do it real early,
like what's real early?
well, you would, for you, I'm just booked on evenings.
I get off at 4, I can be here by 4:05.
Okay, 4:05.
Budget and finance 4:05 on the 12th. Jim, work for you? Okay,
Oh, yeah, she doesn't like Mondays.
Well, just until this concert is done,
The concert is Friday the 16th.
We got games all the other nights. It's getting hard. Okay, does building and grounds need to meet? I'm saying yes in case you have any numbers.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start scheduling these meetings, and then you guys may have to be flexible on that, because we need to move.
Yes,
And so I'll try and schedule on the dates that you have there, but if we need more meetings than that, we're gonna have to.
That's fine.
Go.
that's fine. So building, grounds and transportation, when do you want to meet?
Can you do the week of the? Later.
Is that
the week
Katie,
next-
Dwayne?
Like 7th or 8th?
Stay.
It's over here, those two.
These two. Don't worry, whatever they set, Dave's
All right.
gonna roll with.
7th or 8th.
Do Wednesdays, so the 8th.
Can we meet on the 8th?
Thursday, the eighth.
Yeah.
Are you available? You're in that one, right? Building grounds.
No, I can't. What time? Oh,
Can you do daytime?
You meet early?
Yeah.
Oh, can you meet daytime?
Dave likes daytime, I think.
Can you guys do like a 3 o'clock or something?
I get off at 9 AM.
Abe said
Yeah.
it's for him to.
Sure.
Dave loves the 10 o'clock and 9 o'clock.
10 a.m.
Yeah, as long as I can,
9:15.
Just tell me.
Yeah.
No, didn't Dave say 10? I thought someone said.
Unless we hear the helicopter go
Right.
out.
I'll try
Okay.
not to call you and then you'll be here.
So building, grounds
but there could be a potential like.
and transportation at 10.
9:30.
Well, that can happen to anybody. I mean, anybody can get sick, so.
Yeah. so-
9th,
Okay.
the 8th?
I thought you said 9:30? I thought you said 10.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
What time do you get off work?
9 AM.
Oh, okay. So 9:30 on the 8th is building, grounds and transportation. Policy and planning need a meeting?
Yeah.
Yes? And what day works for them? That's usually right.
Mhm.
Week of the 12th?
The week of the 12th.
Sure.
I could do the 12th or Wednesday before 6. I need to be done by 6.
Wednesday, the 14th?
Yeah.
Are you open one
I
day?
would be
done
by 6
before
though.
Yeah, I could do as early as 4:30 on Wednesday.
Or we want to go after building and finance
I don't care.
on the 12th.
I'd rather do the 14th. I don't have my kids that day.
Sure.
So 4:30 on the 14th. Policy, planning and curriculum.
I think so. Can I just verify? Just want to make sure I got them. So budget finance, we're talking Monday, December 12th at 4:05 PM.
Yes,
Buildings, we're talking Thursday, December 8th at 9:30 AM.
yes.
Policy, we're talking Wednesday, December 14th at 4:30. And regular Monday, December 19th at 5:30.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Will you please email me that too? All right then.
Lately, I've been sending you guys out the calendar after.
Thank you. All right then. Looking for a
I'll make
motion to approve bills.
Make that motion.
Oh, I was with Dwayne. I was ready. to make a
Okay,
motion to
I have a
adjourn.
motion to, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Dwayne, seconded by Katie to approve the payment of the bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any items for signature tonight?
No, you did them already vouchers.
Okay, then
I make a motion to adjourn.
you beat ya.
Dwayne. Oh, we are.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Dwayne. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Dwayne and I were looking at